Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath. And there's no co-host today, except, well, Mara, you're somebody.
Thanks, Raghu.
But Kaustubha's not here today. Kaustubha's on vacation, and he's on travel day today. So I'm hosting it by myself today. And it sort of reminded me of the old days, Mara. This is how the show really started. Me and Mara would come over with, and we had a brahmachari living with us at the time at the farm, and we do morning readings every day and morning study. And then we switched it to morning Bhagavatam on Zoom. And we did that for almost a year. And Kaustubha used to come on live, and then we used to talk back and forth with Kaustubha. I'd unmute Kaustubha. And then we decided to make the whole damn thing into a podcast. And that happened in 2020, the beginning of 2020. So we used to call this Super Soul Sacred Sangha. So this is sort of an extension of Super Soul Sacred Sangha. All right, guys, guess what? We're gonna have to rename Super Soul Farm. It looks like we're keeping the farm. That fingers crossed. But I don't know if anybody knows this, but Oprah, I kid you not, Oprah owns the rights to Super Soul.
To the word?
The word Super Soul that Prabhupada made up, right? Prabhupada made up that word because it's derived from Param Atma, which means the supreme soul. So if you don't know, there is a soul in everyone's, we are spirit, right? We are all jivas, souls, but there's actually a supreme soul that sits within the heart next to the soul. That's Vishnu within the heart, God within the heart. And so Prabhupada translated that into English as the Param Atma to Super Soul. It's a great word. Prabhupada coined it. Oprah copyrighted it. And not just Oprah, but also Soul Cycles. Soul Cycle, that's the company that popularized indoor bicycling, not even indoor, like stationary bikes. Have you ever been there to Soul Cycle, Mara?
No, I've never been to one.
You got to get out more, Mara.
I know, I do. There's no Soul Cycles up here.
The whole world's doing it.
It hasn't made it to Columbia County just yet.
I know. So anyway, we are thinking of, me, Kaustubha, and Mara, we're putting our heads together. We thought of, what's our name? Sage, Forest, because we're sort of in the forest. Forest, Sage, Ashram. Forest, Sage, Ashram. Let's hear some feedback on our message board. Forest, Sage, Ashram. You can say yay or nay. Okay, Jiva G says, Anyway, we're doing this live on Zoom. You can join us on Zoom by going to emailing Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Wisdomofthesages@gmail.com. The feedback is coming in. We got some nays, we got some 100%, whatever. Keep it going, guys. I really want to hear everybody on Zoom's opinion today. Forest, Sage, Ashram. But anyway, we do this live. You can join us live on Zoom, or you can just binge listen to podcasts, because sometimes you get into a podcast, you have a road trip and you can just binge listen to podcasts. Those are great.
We're up to 655 episodes of the podcast.
Very impressive.
So
impressive. It's impressive. Just to do anything every day is impressive. Just to like show up and do what you got to do every day. It's an impressive thing. Any announcements? First of all, I want to thank Manny for sending me a t-shirt. It's in the other room right now. Did you see it yesterday?
Yeah, I love it.
What is say it for me, because my mind is slipping right now.
Srimad Bhagavatam clarifies everything.
It's the name of Kaustubha's class he put on Patreon. And it's got a picture of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says Srimad Bhagavatam clarifies everything. A great shirt to walk around the streets with, where everyone's like, what does that mean? It's like an insider. It's like an insider shirt. But one day you'll find somebody that's like an insider, right? Like the day I found Richard O at the health food store, one of our regular Zoomers. And he was like, Raghunath, I'm Richard O. I listen on Zoom every day. Anyway. All right. Anyway, what's the message board saying?
Sage Shelter is the recommendation.
Shelter Farms. I like Sage Shelter. Doesn't flow well. Shapu's curious.
Don't read the message board.
Rachel secretly wrote me. I thought it was Forest Sage Academy. Yeah, Forest Sage Academy. We're going back with Forest Sage Academy and ashram. Anyway, let's keep this going, Mara.
All right.
All right.
Can I make
you
some
got any announcements for today?
Yeah. Ariel Castillo is doing an asana class for our Patreon members at 11 a.m. today.
All right.
And there's a Bhakti recovery group meeting at noon. There's also a birthday shout out that you have, Raghu, right?
Yes. Radhi Kesh's wife. It's her birthday today. And we got to give love to her, the entire family. Her name is
Premanjali.
Premanjali, sweet lady, sweet family, sweet kids, sweet husband, Radhi Kesh. One of our favorite astrologers. We got two big astrologers on our show who come in irregularly, and every day they're blowing my mind. Radhi Kesh did Bobby's chart yesterday.
Yeah.
Bobby and her daughter and Mara and Bunky came over last night, and I got my kids. I picked up my kids yesterday. Anyway, shout out to them. We're gonna have Drew Lawrence back on the show soon too, who's an astrologer. But they came over last night, and they were. It was great. I picked up my kids. We were talking about this yesterday, Mara. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna dive into it a little bit today, just because it's just there on the forefront of my face. Is you get, I think what happens is, if you don't know, I'm going through this split up right now with my wife. So I've never had to confront this thing, because my identity has always been of a father, a family man. And, when I come home to the farm, which is a big property, and the dog's not even there, and key pieces of furniture that I relate to are not in my house any longer. And there's pictures taken off the wall. It's just like, and things are in disarray. Other things are in boxes. I was trying to analyze this, and I was thinking, well, what is going on? What's the emotion I'm feeling? And I'm starting to realize a lot of we often talk about this in Bhakti as well, that our identity is linked with what we do. Sometimes it's our career, sometimes it's our home. A lot of times, I think what I'm feeling is a premature feeling of an empty nester, where the kids are grown up and we identify ourselves as, I'm the dad, I'm the pancake maker, or I'm the dad, I'm the breadwinner, or I'm the dad, I'm the one who drives them to Boy Scouts on Thursday nights. Whatever it may be, there is an identity that we give up when we get married and raise our children, right? We have that single identity, and then we have that parent identity, and all of a sudden it gets taken away, and I only have that identity on a weekend or on weekdays. And first of all, there's this whole thing of like, you got to figure out when you get the kids, and my travel schedule is so crazy that I don't want to be a weekend dad anyway. I never thought of myself as a weekend dad. And but when you cut this line out, it's like, I want my kids on the week. I want to bring them to school. But anyway, I'm trying to separate myself from the minutia of my activities. And you're left like an empty nester with, well, what am I now that the kids are grown and out of the house? What am I when the kids are at their mom's house? And so I think in the material world, we're left with, okay, now I have free time to take up a hobby, and I'm going to, I'm going to become a coin collector, or I'm going to work on, rehabbing old motorcycles, and I've got 6 of them in the garage, and I tinker around with these, or I have more time to travel, or I try to re-find myself. And it's not like those things are bad, having hobbies, but the soul needs more. The soul needs more. And oftentimes before we are married and settled down, we can really get off track. We can really become reckless with our behaviors per se. And that's why a path of the griha, of having a griha ashram, an ashram of the home, where you have responsibilities. I can't go out and be reckless. I got a kid to take to school in the morning. I can't go out and be reckless. I've got to show up. I can't go out and have some affair. What would that mean to my daughter? So there is a concept of dharma in the Indian system of thought that keeps the car on the track from perhaps our reckless teenage life, which nowadays expands into our 30s and 20s, where people can be really reckless oftentimes because culture, there's no accountability in culture anymore. It's just a free for all. It's a Tinder free. Thank God I got married before Tinder. Those things are like, or I became a brahmachari before there was Tinder, because those things just can really feed into any sex addiction, feed into any type of romance addiction a person may have. Like, this person will fulfill me. Anyway, it's thank God for bhakti. So anyway, there's this feeling of like, well, what do you do? Now, bhakti has the answer for these, as Manny's t-shirt says. Manny's t-shirt says is Bhagavatam has the solution for all our problems. It gives the answer for it. Dharma is merely meant to keep us on track. But the supreme Dharma, and me and Kaustubha quote this a lot, the supreme Dharma for all humanity is that by which the living entity can fall deeply in love with their source. Otherwise, Dharma can merely be a waste of time. I mean, compared to what's going on in culture right now, it's not, obviously, it's just keeping people with their heads on straight. But where we're going with all this is to deeply fall in love with our source. That's what bhakti is. And that's what we're doing here in the Bhagavatam. And how do you fall in love? You deeply hear philosophy and Krishna Lila, means the pastimes of Krishna. So these, and right now, and I'm using my own, pathetic life experience to decipher how all of what I'm going through right now is just a wonderful gift, because it's pulling away the minutia of my life so I can re-examine, okay, this is you now. You're in a big empty home with God. And there's a lot of ways to react when you're in a big empty home and you feel lonely. There's a lot of things we can shove in that hole of loneliness. And our job is to shove in what we actually are. We put God in that God-shaped hole. And that's how we get connected. And that's the work. And we have all the tools right in front of us, and we have the community with us. So good morning, everybody. I hope this is not, do I sound depressing today, Mara?
No, I mean, it's real life. I think people appreciate your vulnerability.
You know what? It's okay to be vulnerable. And sometimes I think, I will say, we were talking the good points and the bad points of living in an ashram. We were talking about that last week. And I had a lot of great memories in the ashram. One thing I didn't like living in an ashram was there was a public persona that you had to have in the ashram. I feel there's a public persona that, especially if you were a leader or if you were a senior in the ashram, you had a public persona. You're giving class, you have to show that, you know, you're strong, you're fixed up. And what that does is it can create a community where you have to show up publicly for people as a leader, but you can't share what you're going through privately. And what that can create is not only a disconnect, but it can create secrets and a duplicity where you have to have a private, where you keep your pain private. And it's not what we want in our spiritual life. We have to be able to share with peers, with seniors, and approach them and just share what we're going through. We have to make it okay to be vulnerable. And at the same time, we're not just in a pity party. We don't want everybody just to commiserate. And that's why we don't, I guess I'm not doing it right now. I'm just sharing it with everybody here. I'm just sharing because this is our circle today. But yeah, we usually share with peers who can hold how we're feeling in some type of confidence, or our gurus who can give some type of advice. Sometimes it just helps to talk. And in the talking, it sort of processes also. But anyway, that was one of the downsides I felt on the ashram, a public persona, which can lead to a duplicity. It's okay to be vulnerable, I feel. And that's what you're going to get with me anyway, just because I'm a big mouth. And if I'm having a good day, you'll know it. And if I'm feeling a little pinch, you're going to know it, because I'll be like, yeah, the pinch. You got a nugget for us today, Mara?
Yeah, I think that you have a nugget, unless you wanted me to read it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You know what? Why don't you read it today? Hey, before we start though, I just want to say, I'm going to Nepal. We're trekking through Nepal March 13th. If you want to join me, we're going through some holy spots as well as just trekking through the Annapurna range. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And we got a good group of people, and we do kirtan every day and yoga when we're not exhausted, because sometimes you're exhausted. And you don't have to be, it's not like we're climbing K2 or Everest. So it's not like, well, I've never, worn oxygen and worn all that. Don't sweat it. We're not even carrying our gear here. We got Sherpas carrying our stuff. It's cool, but it's not freezing at all. It's like autumn weather, sort of. Autumn meets spring, and it's gorgeous hiking through the Himalayas. And I'm excited for it. And it's all these, old Hindu kingdoms, and yeah, Nepal's a special place, and I'm excited to go. So if you're interested, go to Raghunath.yoga. That's my website, Raghunath.yoga, and check that out. All right, Mara.
All right.
I said, Mara, find me a what do we call them? Nugget. A nugget. Some wisdom of the day, Mara, before we start the Bhagavatam. And of course, she sends me some great Native American wisdom. What is it about Native American wisdom? It's like, are all of these guys like deep, noble, thoughtful? Wasn't there any like Native American J-Los out there, or Native American Kardashians? Were they all like deep, and every Native American was wise? Come on. What kind of society? Everybody was wise?
At least this one's not attributed to like an entire nation of Native Americans. Sometimes you read them and it's like the Cherokees. Like,
the Cherokees all said this.
Yeah.
Right. That was our last Native American wisdom. Okay, this is a great one though. Please read.
Okay, so this one's called O Great Spirit. It's a prayer by Chief John Yellow Lark. O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, whose breath gives life to the world, hear me. I come to you as one of your many children. I am small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. May I walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, and my ears sharp to your voice. Make me wise so that I may know the things you have taught your children. Let me learn the lessons you have written in every leaf and rock. Help me seek pure thoughts and act with the intention of helping others. Help me find compassion without empathy overwhelming me. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me ever ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so that when life fades as the fading sunset, may my spirit come to you without shame.
How Krishna conscious are these? How Krishna conscious was that? John Yellowlark. You know, I think there's probably something to be said, and probably why there's not a lot of Native American JLos is because they're absorbed in nature and culture. I'm sure there were some ones who were crazy out there and having some there were philanderers and warmongers, etc. But I think when you absorb yourself in living in nature, also there also becomes a deep wisdom that comes with that. What's your vibe?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And just part of a spiritual culture that accepts higher powers. Well, one thing is when you're absorbed in nature, you don't question a higher power. Of course, there's a higher power. The whole forest is a higher power. The sun is a higher power. When you're a farmer, you become grateful to the sun. When you're a farmer, you become grateful to the rain. When you're a farmer, you become grateful to the earth. When you're a forager, you become grateful to the plants and the animals. You can appreciate the animals more. Where did we go so off track?
I don't know.
Started living indoors. There's a mall in California, Mara, where I think you live in the mall.
Live there?
You live sort of like they have condos attached to the mall. Anyway.
Yeah, our consumer culture.
What's that? Consumer culture?
We just have a consumer culture where it's like, I want to be able to shop at all hours, all the time.
All right. Well, that being said, let's get into the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sound good?
Great.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very source, before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very source, why can't I?
Very means of our conquest.
Our very means of our conquest. One should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated in loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Mara, hit it.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 36.
Text 36. Okay, so we're reading about all the great personalities. Havoc's over. It's like after the storm, right? There was just a whole showdown at a spiritual event, and now people are coming to. The dust is clearing, the smoke's settling, and everyone is realizing, what have we done? What have I done? And they're offering prayers to Lord Vishnu, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're on 36.
Yep.
So the wife of Daksha prayed as follows. My dear Lord, it is very fortunate that you have appeared in this arena of sacrifice. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, and I request that you be pleased on this occasion. The sacrificial arena is not beautiful without you, just as a body is not beautiful without the head. You know what? I could elaborate on this one all day. without the head, or sometimes you say without a spirit. How beautiful is a body? Even suppose the most beautiful person you've ever seen. Who's a beautiful man to you, Mara? Like what's the epitome of the most beautiful man you've ever met? Not met, seen on TV. Who's your ideal man? Just say it.
I don't know. I'm coming up with a blank. I don't have anything. Sorry.
Prabhu, come on. There's no like dream hunk.
There's lots of dream hunks.
All right, say
I don't know what their
dream
names
hunk.
are. Yeah, I don't know their names.
Huh? You don't know
I don't
their
know
names.
names.
Tom
Right.
Hanks. Tom Hanks.
Okay. Or Brad Pitt. Sega says
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Pitt. Is Tom Hanks a hunk?
Tom Hanks. He's a little.
He's not a hunk. Brad Pitt. Okay, Brad Pitt. How beautiful is Brad Pitt? Cut off his head. How beautiful is he? Not that beautiful. Not that beautiful. Right? So it's sort of like, or sometimes we'll say without a soul. Right? Suppose there's a big religious arena, this beautiful arena, but it's soulless. Right? What good is it? Like, here's hunky Brad Pitt, body without a soul. How beautiful is it now? Dead Brad Pitt, not so attractive. The same thing. This is why we live in a depressing material world. We've created a world. If we're winners, we collect a bunch of cool stuff. I got a cool car. I got a cool painting, right? I got cool furniture. I got a cool house. I got a cool front yard. I got a basketball court in my driveway. I've got it all, but I've taken God out of it. It's like a lifeless body, a beautiful body. Hey, Brad Pitt's got beautiful rings on his dead hand fingers, right? Not so beautiful. Not so beautiful. I like that analogy. The governor. Okay, so now here's other people. They're all coming up and just spontaneously speaking these prayers. The governors of various planets spoke as follows. Dear Lord, we believe only the governors of various planets. I just breezed through that without like, what the hell? Each planet has a governor. Isn't that interesting? That itself is very, very interesting. The governors of various planets spoke as follows. Dear Lord, we believe only in our direct perception. What's that called, Mara? Direct perception.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt for a sec because Kaustubha just joined us.
What? Kaustubha dropped by. This is like the old days, like yesterday.
I've been enjoying the show.
Where are
I just
you?
want to share. I'm in the airport in Cali.
Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. But you know that last verse to me is like it's like the best joke in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like the end of a sitcom where like everything was going crazy, and then because what she says is, who do you think she's standing next to? Daksha's wife. When she said that
with
verse.
the head of a goat.
She's standing next to Daksha, who had his head cut off, right? And so, of all the things she could have said, like the sacrificial arena is not beautiful without you, just like a body is not beautiful without the head. And then she's, pointing to her husband. He's standing there with the goat head, and everybody has to laugh,
Aha, now I understand the analogy. See, that's why Kaustubha is key to this show. He brings it back to all this stuff. Prabhu, you are.
No. Prabhu, it's very important that we find out who Mara's dream hunk is out there too. That's also like
he's out there. We want to know what kind of. How are we supposed to find you a husband, Mara?
We don't know who you're interested in.
You tell us who your dream hunk type of guy is.
Anyway, I just thought I'd share that, but I'm going to have to get running soon and everything like that. But please,
Kaustubha, safe travels.
Thank you.
Your flight wasn't canceled either. Good.
No, it's ready to go.
So will we see you tomorrow morning on the show?
Yeah. I'll be back in New York. I think I land at 5 p.m. in New York. So I'm ready to go tomorrow.
All right, Prabhu. Haribo, call me when you get in. Haribo.
Okay, we'll do. Haribo.
That was fun. Kaustubha just joined.
Yeah, just like the old days.
And he added something of depth, which I completely missed out on. Thank you. Okay. The governors of the planet spoke. My dear Lord, we believe. Oh, yeah. You were on the hot seat. That's where we last left off. What does direct perception? Speak of direct perception. This is one of the, right? These are one of the pramanas. We spoke about this the other day. There's really 6 pramanas they speak about in Vedic thought. The concept of how to know things, this is called nyaya. Put that on as a Sanskrit glossary goodie of the day. Nyaya, N-Y-A-Y-A. Narayani got it right. She wrote on the board pratyaksha. Yeah, that's one of the main. So that's when we see things with our senses. And why is that faulty, Mara?
Because our senses are limited.
Yeah, we always say, I'm from Mississippi. If I don't see it, I don't believe it. Well, you know what? There's a lot of things we just can't see. So pratyaksha isn't the best way to know. The other way is inference. We can assume, like on the way back, you came to your house, there was no heat on, or you walked in, it was cold. And so you're thinking, oh, well, my boiler must be broken. So that was like an inference. You inferred there's no heat. I don't hear my boiler. My boiler must be broken. There could be problems with that. It may not be the boiler. It may be you had it may be something with the radiator, or maybe something with the pipes. The boiler might be fine, etc. So there's problems with all these ways to acquire knowledge. And the Vedantists say the best way to acquire knowledge is Shabda Brahman. You hear from sources who know, or from perfect sources. And we call the Vedic texts perfect sources. Now, people can argue, though, that they can say, and people do argue. They say, well, that's dogmatic, especially, that came a lot with Christianity. They say you're just following dogma. In the Renaissance, people would say, well, why are we following some books? But the Vedic teachings are so wide and so vast that you oftentimes didn't hear that as much, or perhaps they did, but that became one of it's so vast and so detailed. And philosophers, generally, when we talk about philosophy, we're talking about one mental speculator after another. But the great philosophers of India all would go back to Vedic thought as their gold standard of knowledge. And what they find was the Vedas would teach things that we wouldn't even have perception of. We study things like Ayurvedic medicine or yoga, and things that you sort of like can't know unless you actually practice it. We study like marma points on your foot. You press into your foot and it affects your liver. How do you figure those things out? So it's beyond our own figuring stuff out. It's descending information. And we're coming from India, which has been a treasure trove of descending information. Don't get me going on treasures, because I was Googling right after I got off the show. I just Googled ancient Hindu coins and coinage for that was an hour of the peacock throne of Shivji Chhatrapati I went off on okay. Anyway, let's keep going with this where it's good. So the governors of the planets. So here's another thing. For example, it's speaking here that there's a governor of a planet. If I was just to randomly find a book in India, suppose I'm an American and I traveled across the sea and I found some book in Sanskrit and I translated it because I've studied Sanskrit, and it says the governor of various planets spoke. What would that mean to me? So I'm hearing this book, this random book, out of a disciplic succession, out of a parampara, out of a tradition. What does a governor of a planet mean? It means it's some mythological book I'm reading. And that's how these books were always translated. They never thought, well, there's probably some invisible deity of a planet. But that's exactly what they mean. That means there's governors, just like I can't see the president of the United States right now unless I have some, unless the president makes some speech on a televised speech. In the same way, there are higher beings that I have no access to, but they're there and they're doing some work. There's work of the government, the federal government, the local and state government that's going on today. Oh, they're preparing for a snowstorm, or they're, fixing roads, or what else does the government do besides fixing roads? I'm sure they do a lot of stuff, work with the school and work with, the balance of power with other countries and the federal government. And so there's a lot of things going on beyond the scenes. That's actually going on a celestial realm, but it's out of my purvey of my senses. What do you think about that, Mara?
Yeah, that's a good explanation.
And so therefore, Pratyaksha has its limitations. Maybe put those on the board, Mara. Shabda Brahman. What's the other one? Pratyaksha Anumana. 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 I think I'm pronouncing that right. Yes. And Shabda Brahman. Shabda are hearing. All right. Back on the horse. But under the circumstance, all right. Dear Lord, we believe only in our direct perception, and therefore we see you as a creation of the material world, right? I don't see you, God. I just see you as creation. We say that all the time. The ocean is God. The forest is my God, right? The mountains are my God. But under the circumstances, we do not know whether we have actually seen you with our material senses. By our material senses, we can simply perceive the cosmic manifestation. But you are beyond the 5 elements. You are the 6th. It's interesting, huh? The Bhagavatam is giving us windows into a whole nother dimension. And to the degree that you apply it to your life, that window becomes more and more clear. There are things that I've heard in the Bhagavatam, even at 22, even when I quote believed, even when I opted in, I'm on a spiritual path. This is my spiritual journey. And it said, do this, behave like this, think like this. And maybe 20% made really good sense and 80% was like foggy and vague, or a long leap of faith. But I apply now at 56, the windows become clearer. It makes more sense. The things I couldn't understand at 22 make much more sense right now. It happens. Part of it is just the discipline of controlling your senses, the discipline of hearing and chanting on a regular basis, the discipline of, just like we block people on Instagram or something, there's people I block in my life, right? They are blocked and they can't get into my consciousness any longer. Or emotions or feelings like resentment, bitterness. You block those from entering the consciousness. Like right now, I want to go to resentment, anger, frustration, how I've been wrong, blocked. That's called Raghunath on autopilot. I just want to go to all these, like we call them sort of like, well, it's natural. It's natural. It's not natural. I've been cultivating resentment, anger, fear, anxiety, keeping records of other people's wrongs. I've been cultivating that for lifetimes. And now by the mercy of the Bhagavatam, by the mercy of the disciplic succession, by the mercy of Guru, Gauranga, Radha and Krishna, I'm getting some different input to go in. I can't let my mind run on autopilot any longer. It's not going to work for me. It doesn't give me what I want, which is peace, peace of mind, tranquility, connection. So it's blocked. Those emotions, those thoughts are blocked. I'm just not going to let them into my sphere any longer. Does that make sense, Mara?
Yeah, that's great.
Gauranganista writes on the board, what brahmacharya also. Yeah, that's what, yeah, when you control your senses, it gives you deeper insight. You realize, especially, I could speak for a man because I have a man's body. Isn't that great to say? Only devotees talk like that. I have a man's body. only devotees talk like that, you know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, when you have a man's body, which can be really dominated by lower chakras or lower passions. When you can actually control that lower passion of sexuality, you get deeper insights to how, like, this isn't me thinking anymore. These are just my passions coloring the way I see the universe. Alrighty. Continuing on. The great mystics said, all right, so there's some perfected, I'm assuming, I'm not looking at the Sanskrit right now, but I'm assuming that must be the Siddhas, the great mystics. My dear Lord, persons who see you as non-different from themselves, knowing that you are the super soul of all living entities. Ooh, Oprah! Freaking Oprah! It's unfair. Oprah.
Keep reading, Raghu.
Okay. The super soul of all living entities are certainly very, very dear to you. I'm going to read that again. Read that again, Raghu. Dear Lord, persons who see you as non-different from themselves, knowing that you are the super soul of all living entities, are certainly very, very dear to you. Not just dear, they're very, very dear to you. I'm going to read that again. It's important. Dear Lord, persons who see you as non-different from themselves, knowing that you are the super soul of all living entities, are very, very dear to you. So we're seeing that God is in our heart and seeing that God is in everybody's heart. Sometimes, and we say this a lot, sometimes it is easy to get along with other people that you're friends with. But it's difficult to get along with people who disagree with you, who don't stroke your ego, who give you a hard time, who are challenging your ego and your perception of reality. It's hard to love those who are different from you and to love those who don't like you. And people who can actually see God in their, quote, enemy's heart. And what to speak of, we lash out not at other people who are different than us. We lash out at ourselves often. We often suffer from a deep sense of self-loathing. I'm not worth it. I'm unworthy. And when we start to understand, I can't hate myself because God's within my heart. I might be a little broken. I get that. But God is within my heart. I'm not allowed to go there. This body is a gift from God. And I know it seems like, yeah, I've made some horrible choices. I'm in a state of ruination. Guess what? Rome was built on top of ruins. Rome was built, beautiful Rome. You've been to Rome? Beautiful. It was built on ruins. So whatever you've done in the past, it's over. Now it's time to build the beautiful city, those works of art on top of what on top of whatever you've done in the past. The past is over. It's all been a gift, right? It's all been a gift, everything that's gone on. And we sometimes have to not see ourselves as, I feel freaking buried by the material world. But I've been planted. I'm not just like buried. I like that too. I'm not just buried, but I'm a seed that was planted. The seed appears to have no value, right? If you look at a pumpkin seed or an apple seed, like, okay, that's the thing I eat and I spit out. Are you kidding? The seed has all the value. That seed is the future. Is that right? Don't spit out the seed. Watermelon, poo. Apple, poo. Mango, we even cursed the seed in the mango. We're thinking, if only this mango had no seed. No, that's just short-term thinking. Of course you want the seed. You take that seed, you bury that seed. And from that seed, tens of thousands of mangoes grow. Come on. So yeah, I'm buried today. Or I'm planted today. We're being planted. And from our activities today, right? Because what's up with today? It's tomorrow. I'm creating tomorrow today. That was a good thing, little good thing to riff on, wasn't it, Mara?
Yeah, it was.
I don't even know how we got there.
Seeing God in your enemy's heart.
Seeing God in our enemy's heart. Seeing God in our enemy's heart. I'm not allowed to hate myself. Can't hate. Not allowed to hate my enemies. That's my problem. I'm not allowed to hate despite. Matter of fact, I have to really learn to love people who are different than me. And that's hard. Sometimes it's hard to love people who are good to you, or if we do love them, we don't even let them know it. But I have to learn how to love people that are different than me and train myself, because I'm trained just to see their difference. And I have to train myself to love them and appreciate them. And then guess what happens? You become very, very dear to the Lord. It's very beautiful, isn't that? You are very favorable towards those who engage in bhakti, accepting you as the Lord and themselves as your servants. By your mercy, you are always inclined in their favor. One thing I've realized, Mara, is even in the bhakti path, and I have so many good ideas on ways to practice bhakti, right? That one thing that comes up with me a lot is when I see some devotee doing something that I wouldn't do. Why would they do that? There's a tendency to be like, why would they do that? Don't they see how that's counterproductive? Why would they go out and try to spread the holy name like that? And instead of throwing my big, my big ego in, there's something very powerful about appreciating that this person's just trying to love God in a different way. And that's how it manifests for them. So instead of like me, because you see that with even a devotee community, why would he act like that or say like that? In the best ability they have, they're thinking, this is how I can serve. I'll just be very frank with you. Some people go out and just like hand out, like on the street, just walk around handing out things about Krishna consciousness to random people on the street, like flyers. Come to our kirtan or our. And to me, I'm like, come on. People don't want to be bothered on the street while they're walking, and why do that? There must be better ways. Why don't you sit down and have a kirtan, or why don't you have a kirtan and then put the flyers out? People don't like to be approached on the street. And the problem is that might be the way I do it, but why am I underestimating their attempt to want to serve God? And don't you think God sees their love in it? And I have to be broader than my own way of doing it. That's my realization about that, Mara. What do you think?
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'm getting private messages from Karuna, 8-year-old Karuna from Lebanon. Oh, she says, do you still love me? Of course I love you, Karuna. I'm just not on the message board because Kaustubha's not speaking. Reveal too much.
Can't say that.
There's a lot of pressure on me today, Karuna. Okay. Oh my God, it's running late, Mara. I barely got through anything. Did I squirrel upon my squirrels?
No.
All squirrels all the time. Can I read one more or no?
Please.
Okay. Well, the great message. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, who has created varieties of manifestations and put them under the spell of the three qualities of material world in order to create, maintain, and annihilate them. He himself is not under the control of the external energy, right? That's the gunas. In his personal feature, he is completely devoid of the variegated manifestation of material qualities, and he is under no illusion of false identification. That's what we are. We are under the false illusion, right? If I'm experiencing any empty nester pain right now in the process of separation /divorce /child custody, it's due to an illusion of false identification. My children are not mine. My home is not mine. My family is not mine. My career is not mine. I have one real identity always, no matter what role I play. Father, son, parent. I have one real identity. And the other identities are different hats I wear. Like sometimes I wear a baseball hat. Sometimes I wear a cowboy hat. Sometimes I wear a sun hat. Sometimes I wear a golfing visor. I don't, but I'm just saying sometimes people can. And then you identify with the hat as your identity. They're just hats. We're switching out. By the way, I've never used this hat analogy, and I really like it because each hat takes on a new persona.
Yeah, it works. I like it.
It's a good one, right? So that's the deal. We're not those hats. Full time, I'm a pure spirit soul. And the Bhagavatam, even the material energy, when we're in knowledge, we will see as goading us, I like that word, goading us using elephant analogies, elephant caretaker analogies, goading us towards our spiritual identity. Everything in the material world is here to goad us towards our spiritual identity. And if I don't get that, I just see the material world as a place of good or bad fortune. I had a good luck. I have good luck. I had a bad day. I had a bad relationship. I had a bad marriage, or I had a bad season. No, everything is here to goad us towards God. Any takeaways, Mary?
Yeah, that's great. Everything is here to goad us towards God.
Oh, well, there's a takeaway right there.
That's
You want to
a
take
good one
away?
there.
I'm takeaway, Nath.
All right. We only have one true identity, pure spirit soul.
Yeah.
Dharma keeps us on track. Supreme Dharma is to fall in love with divinity.
How about don't spit out the seed?
Yeah, well, you know what I like is we aren't being buried, we're being planted. Because you should still spit out the seeds. You don't want to swallow the seeds.
Swallow the mango pit.
Don't swallow the mango pit.
If someone chokes on a pit today, blame Matt Godin. He wrote that on the board.
Don't keep your pain private. There's no beauty without God. Bhagavatam gives us windows to another dimension. Applying wisdom cleans those windows.
I like that one.
Don't let your mind run on autopilot.
Nope.
Build beauty on top of the ruins.
Build beauty. Oh.
Yeah. You like that?
Build beauty on top of the ruins.
Yeah. See God in your enemy's heart. Train ourselves to love and appreciate everyone. And we aren't being buried, we're being planted.
Woo! Oh man, I didn't show my shirt today. You know what?
Same shirt. Here.
It's Yoda. Yoda best dad. I got from my daughter for my birthday. Yoda best dad. You know what? It's a dumb shirt and it made me feel great. I never got one of those world's best dad hats or shirts or anything. And I got a Yoda best dad shirt for my daughter. And it really brightened up my day. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate everybody here in the community. And I think the community appreciates the community, and it's ever growing. And this year we're going to do a lot of Wisdom of the Sages get-togethers, day retreats up here at the farm, New York City retreats, Long Beach, California retreats, Italy retreats. I want to thank everybody who just shows up on a regular basis, whether you're live on Zoom or whether you're one of the others. We really appreciate it. If you're one of the others out there, write us a little message on Apple Podcasts. You can write a review and you can write us a little message. I read them all. Or write us at wisdomofthesages@gmail.com. I want to really thank the Patreon members who keep this show going. If you want to support us, anything you want to give is appreciated. Patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. And that gives you access to archives treasure troves, peacock thrones of valuable information. It doesn't give you access to the peacock throne. You know, there is rumor that the peacock throne was dismantled and then various false peacock thrones were created. But the peacock throne, I believe, is still out there. It is the white whale, right? The Moby Dick of thrones. So I want everybody to be on the lookout. And you never know. I think a lot of these family treasures, getting back to important things like treasure, you know, things get passed around through families secretly. You know that, Mara? Like sometimes there will be an illegal stealing of a painting and it gets sold into an underground market and people have originals of these paintings. And they're sort of like underground markets for these things. I believe the peacock throne is out there.